I'm feeling alright today. So it's a nice opportunity to share with you some of my experiences of poor mental health over this last year and all the ups and downs. So it's been almost a year now for me that I've been on medication, and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. So there's been a lot of ups and downs during that time. I've returned to work after, I had two bouts of being off long-term sick for between sort of 3 to 5 months at a time, I suppose. So best part of a year. I've been back at work now since January, so it's been a decent 3 months. And I've been finding it harder lately. I've had more challenges in my life where I found that the pace of home life and pressures at work and longer days, travelling, getting up at say 5 in the morning, sometimes not getting home till 7 in the evening at least. Eat, shower, then you're back in bed, and then you're up again the next day. That's been a bit of a shock to the system, getting used to that kind of routine. And gradually building up work pressure as well, gradually building up my workload as well, and just juggling that has been hard. And we've had a lot of change at home as well. So I've got 3 girls, and all in school. Currently all at different schools as well, as my youngest has just started nursery recently. So we've changed our home routine. So we've got, between my wife and I, different days, taking it in turns doing childcare so we can both manage work, and then try and manage our work around that so that we're still performing, doing the jobs we're paid to do, and somewhere in between all that, finding time for me to make these videos and for us to rest or have social time and all those sorts of things. The things that we really do get up for in the mornings, trying to do something that we enjoy doing or brings us some happiness as well. Life's not all about work and doing things for other people all the time. So I've had a lot of ups and downs lately. I've had some really tougher days where I felt really withdrawn, and it's been quite difficult to focus. Felt quite fatigued, and it's been tricky to kind of be present for people, really. It feels like you're taking a step back in a lot of ways to a tougher time, when my mental health was felt like, I was just trying to function day to day. There are times like that, which has been a real reminder for me that, once you get out of that poor mental health stage, it takes a lot to stay positive, and it takes a discipline to keep your mental health in a good place. There's lots of strategies that I've been introducing into my life, which I know I've shared some of those in other videos. So if you want to find out a bit more about that kind of thing, check out my videos on my channel. There's several on self-care and various tips that I've been practicing in my own life that I'm sharing that could work for you as well. So just to give you a flavour, so some of those kind of disciplines that I've been having, I've been trying to slow down a bit during the days, pace myself, go out for walks, just take breaks where I feel I need them. I'm getting out now, now it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I've come out for a walk on my own, outdoors in nature, just for a little bit, just to hear the birds, calm down, and just sort of tune in to being more present, with what's around me. And it's a nice chance to think clearly as well. And I thought, this morning I'm going to do a little video for you because my mind's in the right. Oh, excuse me. My mind's in the right place for it. So sometimes for me, it's a bit of a strike while the iron's hot. You know, go with how you're feeling. And I try to live my life a lot like that on a day-to-day basis. You know, I try not to be too prescribed of like, oh, we've got all these commitments, or we've got to, you know, live our life by a timetable constantly. You know, there's always a bit of that, especially with kids and having to, you know, be dad. You know, be who. You know, there's different identities that you've got in life. You know, that you've got to perform for, but you don't want to be doing too much of that if you can help it. And we're all human. We've all got feelings. We've all got emotions. We all have different moods. We all have different triggers. So, you know, I'm trying to tune into that a bit more for myself, you know, and be guided a bit more by how I feel on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, if I'm not feeling so great, then I'm learning to accept that. And, you know, maybe I need to slow down on that day. And I'm trying not to feel guilty for slowing down, because obviously that means that you're less productive in a day, or you know, you might be having to let people down, you know, and just say, look, I'm sorry, but I'm not feeling so good today. Can we do this tomorrow? Can we do this next week? You know, work-wise, that can mean like, do you know what? Let's push something back or delegate. You know, if you can, trying to give that to somebody else to help you with. And you know, I'm trying to be quite transparent as well about my experience with people, because I find that actually, rather than kind of hiding my mental health from people, it actually allows me to feel like I'm being more accepted by people. Like if people understand that actually, like I'm in a low mood today. It's hard to get out of this rut today. Then I can say that to someone and they'll get it. You know, rather than making excuses or feeling like you're kind of lying, or you know, you've then got that kind of pressure to, you know, come up with excuses and sort of weasel out of things or whatever. And people can see through that, I think. I mean, that's what I think anyway. I don't know if people actually do see through that kind of stuff, but you just, you know, it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling to make excuses. So I'd rather just be honest and say, look, this is how it is. So let's take a rain check on things, you know. And yeah, so with me feeling like up and down a lot, like I've had probably a few weeks of that now, where I'll have like maybe like 2 or 3 days of feeling like I'm really stuck in a rut, but then I'll have like a really positive day where I'm feeling more engaged with what's going on, and you know, I might have some good news, I might have some successes. I had a couple of days like that actually this week, where you know, at work I was dealing with a sort of policy update, and there was an issue that I won't go into the details too much, but there was an issue with the need for us to kind of increase what we're spending on something, and there'd been problems around it in the past, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to revisit that, I'm going to query it, and I did, and you know, actually I got the answers that I needed, and it felt like it was quite a quick fix in the end, so I was quite happy with that. It was a good experience for me, to be honest. So, you know, had I not bothered to sort of push for that, that might not have happened, you know. So, morning. Yeah, it might not have happened. So I thought that was quite a good thing to be able to have done for myself, you know, and it gave me a real high for a couple of days there, to be honest, as well. So, and it was the sort of thing actually I was able to share with people, like, oh, I've made this progress, and you know, I pushed for that, and that progress happened, and it felt like a bit of a breakthrough moment, you know. So actually having those positive experiences like that, where you feel like, yeah, I've done that, or I've made that change, or you know, I've made a difference to somebody else. You know, that's the sort of thing that lifts me, and hopefully that's the sort of thing that lifts most people. So I could have not bothered doing that because I thought, well, I've gone down this road before and just got knockbacks. So there was something in like, oh, I'm trying it again, but maybe it's like I just was going back to something with fresh eyes and thought, oh, let's just see if we can sort this problem out. So that was really good. And I've been spending time with my girls as well. We've having a bit of a laugh actually. Just having some funny moments, like home life's been slightly less stressful than usual, so that's been nice as well. Like, especially like coming home from work after a long day, like, last thing you want is like drama going on at home, or just walking into chaos and stuff like that, which that's unpredictable with little kids, it's kind of what to be expected sometimes. But those sorts of things have helped, and so like having like multiple positives that's come along, and some of it of my own doing and some of it just how life's unfolded for me, but that's given me some real high, which has been great, and I need that kind of stuff. That's the sort of stuff I need to hang on to. We all need to hang on to those positives like that. But yeah, these positive days can come off the back of bad days or vice versa, and just stepping back a bit, I feel like I've had a few weeks where it's been a real yo-yo like that, and it's like just so exhausting, because when you're feeling really low, you're like, I panic, I'm almost in a, not like an anxiety attack or a panic attack, but like you almost feel like you're regressing, that I thought I was got out of this sort of bad patch, and those feelings are coming back, and a lot of those sort of negative impulses and feeling withdrawn, and it feels like you're kind of going into crisis mode again, like you're shutting down, but then you have the positive days like that, and it's like complete opposite in every way. And those positive days, you literally feel like you're back to the good old days, like you're back to normal, and that's like amazing. It's like you're on a high, and actually you're not on a high, it's temporary, so I've had to kind of get used to the idea that actually that only lasts so long. So, but that's okay, I can sort of live with that. I just have to maybe just be a bit more mindful that, embrace the moment while it's there, and be okay with those days where there's, that day's not going to be a productive day. It's not going to be a day where I feel like I'm able to do too much, and I need to listen to myself on those kind of days, and I'm trying to do that more. I'm trying to just accept how I feel, and it's so hard to try and push forward when you're feeling so low. You're feeling really kind of insular, just want to be on your own. You feel very disconnected from other people and what's going on and what might be expected of you on that day, and it's things like my kids actually that do help. They actually do help sort of push me through, actually, because they have their routines, and like they need to be picked up from school. I care about what they eat, and I care about what they're able to do, and between my wife and I, when we're juggling, our childcare, like I'm flexible. Fortunately, I'm flexible with work, so I'm on my sort of days when I'm at home with the kids. I'm working from home, and I get that concentrated time when they're at school. But then I have to split that day into pieces so that I'm able to do the school runs, and that I'm cooking for them, and I'm the parent at home, in charge looking after them. So I have to kind of divide my time like that. But yeah, so it's I forgot where I was going to go with that actually now. Anyway, so it is a juggling act, but that was it. On those days, I have to perform for my kids. I have to be there for my kids, and I think, like most parents, like I care more about what my kids' needs are than my own needs to some degree. And especially because they're young, I need to cook for them. I need to make sure they're eating well. I need to be managing their behaviour if there's stuff going on. I need to be entertaining them. I need to be doing stuff, and not just having one kid. We've got 3 kids, so there's a dynamic there. Different needs, different ages, So it demands your attention, and that drags me into handling them if I'm on if I'm feeling withdrawn and if I'm feeling really low. It forces me to be there for the kids, and it can feel like the worst thing in the world if you just want to rest or sleep or just be in peace or just sit and be alone or just be with your thoughts, whatever it is, in the moment. And then you're like, oh, it's 4:45. I need to start cooking. It's going to take half an hour to do this. And the kids are shouting and there's stuff going on. And you're just drawn into it, and it's, I guess stepping back from it, that's a good distraction for me, really. But in the moment, it just, it's hard. It's hard dealing with that. But yeah, that's something I've had throughout this last year, though, really. And especially while I've been on long-term sick as well. I've been at home more, and you get less peace and quiet. So it's one of the reasons why I have that sort of discipline now of coming out for walks most days when I'm home, if the weather's all right, like this, because it gives me that alone time, gives me a bit of peace. And it's harder to have peace in a busy household, so it comes with the territory, really. So I've had to find ways of balancing my needs with their needs as well, really. So I sometimes feel quite envious of people perhaps that live alone and without those distractions like that, because I sort of feel like, oh, that would be my ideal situation. Dealing with my bad mental health would be some time and space to not be constantly pulled into things or distracted by everybody at home. But it's easy to wish for this stuff. I wouldn't, in a way, want anything else. I love my kids and my wife, and our life is our life. I have to just balance my mental health around that a bit. Been on medication now for roughly a year as well, so I've juggled between different ones. I was on sertraline for a while, up in the dosages, but didn't have any effect on me at all. So I ended up moving over to citalopram, and again I was on that for sort of several months before I really sort of felt an effect. But gradually I managed to hit the right dosage, and that took about 9 months, the whole process of actually feeling like I was having some sort of an effect from medication. So I've been on that now for maybe 5 months or so, and it's interesting. I speak to a lot of people actually who are like, oh, does it work? Do you actually think the medication's doing anything? Because I don't know. I mean, I sort of think, well, do people think that mental health is purely psychological, poor mental health and anxiety, depression, and everything else that people get, that they experience with poor mental health? It's not just about state of mind. It's not just psychological. I don't believe you can kind of train your brain out of this stuff. There's probably a bit of an influence that you can have in terms of thought patterns, and a lot of people do CBT, so cognitive behaviour therapy, and that can work for some people. I actually did a CBT course many years ago now, probably maybe 10, 12 years ago or something. And actually I was quite surprised it actually did work for me. I think I had a lot of anger issues at the time. I don't know why, but that helped me kind of deal with that, I think, and helped me focus myself. I think I found that I was being influenced a lot by my thought pattern at the time, and it was affecting the quality of my life. So actually for me, CBT really worked then, so that was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, that's what it's there for. You know, it does work for some people, and I know some people do that. But it hasn't been something I've got into over this last year for me. But maybe it's something that'll work at the right time. I don't know. But I have been seeing a therapist for probably about 4 months now or so, maybe a bit longer. So that's been quite good for me, actually, having kind of weekly sessions where I've been able to talk with somebody about my experiences, you know, about my days, about my week, about my feelings, and share with someone who's not judging you, who's not, you know, they're kind of looking at things with compassion and objectively, and actually with that professional eye, because they're able to give me strategies and techniques and help me to think about the impact that certain things are having on me, and how I might be able to manage myself in different ways. You know, and look at all aspects of my life as well in conversation. So it's actually been a really positive thing for me, having therapy. And some people, again, therapy doesn't work for everybody, and so there has been that need for me to try different things, to see what works. You know, I did counselling for a while, and to begin with, that was great. But actually, counselling was it didn't feel very two-way. You know, it felt like I was just sort of talking to a person who was there to listen, and that was kind of it. It was a bit too passive, really, and that's where therapy comes in, I think, where you've got someone who's working with you on what you've got happening, and they're trying to help you deal with life and move forward in whatever way you feel you need to move forward. You know, so there's a bit of questioning, there's a bit of challenging at times, but there's a lot of reflecting as well. And I'm someone who does self-reflect quite a lot, like just in life. I've always been like that. So maybe that's the reason why therapy sits well with me, actually, because it's quite a reflective practice in my experience, and that sits with my mindset really well. So, and I don't feel the burden or the pressure of therapy as well. I mean, I almost look forward to it in a way, and I've had times when I've not seen my therapist some weeks because life's just been busy, really. It was like that a couple of weeks ago, so I didn't see them for nearly a fortnight, and I felt really bad, and I actually feel quite like I'm getting some sort of withdrawal symptoms from not seeing my therapist, and it's almost like there's a sort of tension building up in me, you know, because the conversation I have with my therapist, I don't have that with anyone else, and I think I've kind of got used to that opportunity to offload like that, really, and it's kind of proved to me how valuable it is for me as well, in just being able to kind of get through the days in life and try to kind of keep on some kind of upward trajectory as well, you know, because life's getting busier, as I said earlier, and that's creating different pressures and stress, and I'm having to learn to cope in different ways. So therapy's been really good for that, for me. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep on with that for as long as it works. And at the moment, I can kind of see that being something that, unless something else comes along, there's a reason why it stops. I think I'm just going to keep going with that. I think there is something in finding the right therapist. It's something you do hear a lot about as well, that you know, because you kind of feel like you need to connect with someone. You need to feel like they get you and they understand you, and I do feel like I have that with my therapist. So that makes a big difference to me, that I feel like I'm connected, like there's a wavelength there that we share. So yeah, that's been really good. But yeah, I was mentioning the meds earlier, and I'm on so I'm on citalopram. And people were saying that, oh, does it really work for you? And I thought, well, actually it does for me. And the reason why I know it does work is because if I miss a day by accident, because I only have one tablet a day, like if I miss it, I feel really low. And that's not me being paranoid and thinking, oh no, I haven't had my meds, oh, I'm on decline, or something like that. I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling very well. It's usually the other way around. Like I'm feeling rough as hell, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I haven't had my medication, you know. And that's the point for me, where I think like, yeah, wow, you know. And I have heard, you know, from people that, you know, if you miss it, you feel it, like, you know, you've missed it. And yeah, I do, you know. I think it really influences my mood and that kind of get up and go about life. So that's been yeah, it's been an interesting experience to go through that. But my meds help me feel, they help me feel quite relaxed, they help me feel calm, you know. I don't feel that kind of tension in my body, I don't feel stress in quite the same way as I used to. And that's something I know the meds do for me. That's the only thing that can explain how I feel like that as well. I mean, I do still feel stress, obviously, but I don't feel like it's a whole body experience in quite the same way. And I don't have racing thoughts quite as much as I did. I am sleeping better. You know, I had, oh, long before I was even on meds, I wasn't sleeping very well. You know, I was having 2, 3, 4 hours sleep a night, you know, patchy. And I'm probably for at least the last few months, you know, I'm sleeping probably like 6, 7 hours a night a lot of the time now, which is, you know, a huge improvement. So it makes me feel like I've got just that little bit more energy day to day. And obviously it's a big tick, you know, because poor sleep affects your body in lots of ways, as you know. You can read up about that, your GP will tell you about that, you know, anyone will tell you that, you know, not sleeping well affects you in lots of different ways. So, and not having enough sleep. So yeah, that's a big tick box for me. And I am always someone who has slept well as well in life. Like, I'm normally a 7, 8 hour a night kind of person, and I don't really need to lie in, I don't really need loads of sleep. I've never been someone who sleeps in till the afternoon or anything like that. If anything, I'm an early riser. But I am someone who falls asleep easily. When I'm asleep, you know. And yeah, 7, 8 hours a night's usually enough for me. So yeah, going from that to having a few hours, yeah, it's really tiring. You know, you find yourself yawning in the day. Sometimes I used to find myself having a nap, you know, or I fall asleep on the train regularly on the way to work or on the way home from work. You know, not out of choice or boredom, but literally because obviously my body needs it. I'm tired. So it does catch up with you not sleeping enough. And you know, luckily in a way, I suppose you know, I don't have insomnia or anything, but you know, God knows what that's like for people who just, you know, struggle to sleep at all, you know, or get an hour or two a night or something, you know. I don't know, I have no idea what that feels like in terms of your energy levels and stuff. But yeah, for what I've had, it was enough. But I'm just really pleased that my sleep's on a decent level again, and that seems to be happening fairly consistently now. So that's been really, really good. Yeah, and I think I've also been making some forward plans, which was not something I cared about really for so long. Oh, sorry, I'm getting into the thick of it here in the woods, and there's like low-hanging branches and boggy areas and stuff. I'm having to juggle myself around as I talk. So yeah, I've planned to do a skydive this year over the summer. So it's something I've always wanted to do. Never tried it before, and I guess like what I've been through, I've started to think, do you know what? you do only live once, and life is short. You know, it's cliche, but it's true. You know, what are the things I want to do in life? What haven't I done yet? What would I like to do? And skydiving's one of them. So I got it booked, and it'll be my 40th this year as well. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do that for my birthday. So got it booked, you know, 6 months ahead. So it's in the diary, it's going to happen. And I'm looking forward to that. You know, it'd be cool. Not something everyone would want to do, but for me, it's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm going in for the highest altitude as well, which I think it's 15,000 feet. Jumping out of a plane. Oh, I'm not on my own. I am attached to an instructor, obviously. But morning. I am all the same, you know. And you could do 10,000 feet or 5,000 feet, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go for it. You know, I want to be in the air for the longest time. I want to feel the experience, and yeah, bring it on. So having stuff like that is like, for me, is major. Like going, actually, this is stuff I want to do. Actually taking action and doing it, getting myself set up for it, paying for it, making that commitment, talking to people about it. And all these things are a positive part of it. You know, it's not just an idea that I've kept to myself. It's something I've actually already taken action on. And that's a big sign for me that I am in a more positive place, that I'm able to forward think like that and make commitments to things that I want to be doing. And it's something I'm doing for me, you know, and we all need to do more stuff for ourselves in life than what we are doing. And that's really important, because it's good for your morale, your self-worth, your enjoyment, your satisfaction in life, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes we need to focus more on what we want. What do I want in life? Or what do I want today? What do I want tomorrow? You know, whatever that has to look like. It doesn't need to be as grand as a skydive. It can be, do you know what, I just need to sit and watch a film. I just need a couple of hours on my own. Or I need to go to the gym. Or I just need to go out for a walk. You know, whatever that is. And it, like, help you feel positive, you know, help give you some optimism, give you some independence, you know. And I think I feel that a lot because I have a job where I'm there for people a lot. And, you know, home life is not quiet. So me thinking about me that little bit more is really valuable for me for that reason. So yeah, I'm feeling good about that kind of thing. So, oh god, right. Back to the, oh my god, it's a giant log pile that someone's put down on the path that I've got to cross over. God's sake. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, I'm pleased that I'm in that kind of state that I'm able to think ahead and look for positives and see positives and create positive moments or positive feelings for myself. Like, that's a sign of strength for me, that I've moved forward a lot, like with my mental health, that I can do that kind of thing, you know, and feel good about that and be happy to talk about it and share it as well. Because I think with your mental health, like, there's a lot of insular feelings and not wanting to share with people, or people not understanding what you're going through, and you know, you do keep a lot to yourself. So actually being able to kind of look outward and talk about your experiences, talk about your feelings, talk about the good things that you've got going on, not just the bad things, and to be able to forward plan in life and feel good about planning like that as well. It's a big step, but for me it's just felt like it's right as well. You know, that could be timing, that could be because I am actually feeling more positive in life, so it could be that. But it's also maybe a sign of where I'm at as well with my mental health, that I'm able to kind of acknowledge those experiences and, you know, put words to them, really. And even doing this YouTube channel, you know, I think 4 or 5 months back, there's no way I would have done something like this. I didn't have the energy for it. I didn't have really the willpower to get on with it. You know, it's a discipline because you're creating videos, you're, you know, trying to create some sort of pattern because it's a commitment that you're making, you know. And I'm doing these videos for myself, but I'm also doing them like for everyone because I think, you know, I'm sharing experiences that I think are relatable to people, I hope. So it's important for me, like for those reasons. I think I want to be able to relate to people, but I also need to put words to my experiences, and it's hard to have those conversations a lot of the time, like all the time. And so actually talking on camera is it's sort of an interesting form of therapy, you know, I suppose, because it's like you're offloading and you're reflecting and you're sharing. It helps clear my mind as well. So yeah, it's but I wouldn't have been in this sort of place before at all to be able to, you know, want to do a channel that I'm going to publicly share my mental health with people. You know, it's a sign for me that I don't know, things are getting a little bit better, you know, that I'm coping in ways, but I'm human and I'm still having the tough times as well, and I'm trying to recognise them that bit more, as I mentioned, and just not beat myself up too much for that. You know, if I need to have a day where, do you know what, I'm just don't feel like I'm even on this planet today, then that's okay. Like, I'm not going to try and battle through, because I don't want to get myself into a place where I don't know, created a situation or got myself into some hot water in some kind of way, you know. And there's something about staying in your own comfort zone, I think, when you're feeling really low. Like, you need comfort, you need, you know, sort of solitude and peace, and whatever that needs to look like. You know, we all have that need in us, I think. So when we're feeling really low like that, so the last thing I want to do is be performing for people, which is kind of how I see a lot of life, I guess, in terms of other people needing things from you, you know. So yeah, but you know, like I say, it puts me in a better place where I am now to where I was, so I'm good with that, you know. So, and if you made it this far in the video, well done. This has been a long one, but it's been important for me actually to reflect a bit over this last year or so in this kind of way, because I think I've learnt a lot, I've progressed in certain ways, and I've learnt to listen to myself more, really, and to remember that I'm human. And I think mental health is maybe not something we ever like fully recover from. It's not like the flu or something where like you're ill or you're better. I don't think mental health's like that. It's much more part of everyday life, and you've got to have strategies and disciplines and tips and tools and things you apply in your life to keep you on an even keel, really. And I think life experiences obviously impact you in a lot of ways, and you can't always see that. So you've just got to learn to adapt as best you can, and I guess that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to adapt my life to fit my mental health in, and some of that means I'm having to slow down a bit, you know, listen to my body, listen to my mind, what I need a bit more, and just, you know, I can't override that. You know, I just need to be more compassionate to myself. So yeah, that's probably what I've learned over this last year anyway. So So yeah, thanks for making it this far in the video. I hope you found it an interesting listen or watch, and I'd love to hear about your experiences as well, like especially with like poor mental health, or going through kind of crises, or episodes of anxiety or depression, and just how you've coped with that as well, because I think we all go through our own experiences with it. Definitely, if I've learned anything, like, this is a very personal experience, and I think that's been an important part of me trying to communicate about that, because it's not something you just get over and just get on with again very easily. I've had to make a lot of life changes to try and get myself in a positive place again, and that's like a permanent thing. And some of that people see, some of that people don't. So yeah, if you've got experiences to share, do pop them in the comments. And I've made many other videos around depression, anxiety, and mental health as well, and men's mental health, because there's not enough men talking about mental health as far as I'm concerned. There's not enough sharing, reflecting, advice and guidance out there, and I think the experiences men go through can be quite different to women and others. So I think it's important to focus on some of those experiences that men go through as well. So yeah, check out my channel. Thanks for listening, tuning in, and hope you all have a great day. See you again soon.